People think the crash starts when the prices fall, but that's not how it works. People are already losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'm about to take you behind the scenes and show you what is actually happening. So I decided to pull some examples and show you that people are already losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. I will share my screen. I will read the short articles and we can go from there so we can all judge. Okay, so as you can see here, Ontario home sold at $557,000 loss compared to its 2022 price. That is insane. When we get into the actual article, it says here the GTA real estate market has shifted substantially over past few years, with rising economic uncertainty giving buyers more negotiation power and driving down sky-high prices from the peak seen in 2022. So having said that, homes like this that you have seen on the screen were, selling over $1 million easily. There were lineups, there's, sometimes 30 offers, 50 offers, even plus 100 offers on a property. So diving in deeper, it says here, this new market home initially sold back in March of 2022 for just over $1.6 million at the time when cheaper borrowing rates contributed to heightened demand across most major real estate market in the province. So it is true, but now it's backfiring. And even though it is not declared that we are seeing a real estate crash, but it is obvious that many are in deep trouble and already losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when we get back into the actual graph, we see that in 2022 March, it sold for $1.6 million, just above. Then they tried to relist it, got terminated, relisted again. They leased it a few times. They ended up leasing it and then finally relisted in 2025. So I did mention in my previous videos, if you're a subscriber, you would know. If you follow the channel, now it's your chance to subscribe. We know that in the peak, we have seen the first, I would say, bunch or the first level exit the market, right? So they bought in 2022. Right away, they tried leasing it. Right away, they tried to dump this property, in 2024 and 2025. So that was the first fleet of people trying to exit the market and recoup, right? So there's obviously other segments and other fleets that are still holding on, and eventually their savings are going to drain out and they will hit the market. We'll get into the worst case scenario in a second, but let's go into another property. Here's another home, beautiful home. Ontario home sold at $600,000 loss from its 2022 price. As you can see, beautiful detached home with the long, beautiful driveway. At the height of Ontario's pandemic housing frenzy, buyers in the province were continuously paying thousands and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking just to secure a home. But now it is a vastly different market. Sellers are being forced to considerably slash prices just to attract an offer. So this particular property is located in Caledon. If you don't know where Caledon is, it's north of Brampton. So it's Mississauga, Brampton, Caledon. And like people would even drive. They would consider driving, 45 minutes to an hour and a half outside the core city just to secure a property with a little bit of land. And at these prices, like, it is crazy. So we'll get into the history here in a second. As you can see here, in 2022, this particular property was sold for a staggering $1.735 million. Nuts. All right. And you see exactly the same pattern people in 2025. So it took them about 3 years to kind of fight through the whole situation, because in 2023 we have seen a high interest rate jumps, and people started to struggle, but many were holding on because they believed that it will flip in, couple of quarters or couple of seasons. The market will return back to normal. Obviously it didn't happen. So we see here in 2025, in June, they listed it for nearly $1.4 million, got terminated, again relisted for 1,349, again relisted 1,313. So finally they sold it for $1.16 million. All right, so we continue. Ontario Home sold at staggering loss of over $550,000. This house is obviously beautiful, probably located in a subdivision. And here even I can see that the door has been hit on the garage. Doesn't matter. Ontario average home prices recorded a steepest drop out of all the provinces in Canada last year. So note that. With elevated supply making it more and more difficult for sellers to offload their properties. As we can see here, according to the public MLS, the property was first sold for $1.25 million back in February of 2022. So despite the original price tag, the home was relisted last year and sold in December for just $695,000. It is crazy. That's huge. To recoup these losses, to save these losses, it's not only a decade, it's multiple decades, and in some cases generational wealth got lost in these transactions. And then people tell me, well, it's just a blip, real estate will recover, we will see a huge boom, we will see. What kind of boom do we need to see for these folks to recoup their losses? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like the market has to boom by 50% overnight in order to see that. It's impossible. Now we get to this beautiful home. This is a stunning, beautiful property. Even has some pot lights at the outdoors. So beautiful stone, double car garage, stunning. Ontario Home sold at $760,000 loss from its 2022 price. An Ontario Home sold at a massive loss this month, showing how much prices have changed since 2022, when cheaper borrowing rates resulted in sky-high demand and a rapid rise in price across the province. But if you go back here, in 2020 September, this property was listed for $1,225,000, finally sold in 2020 for almost $1.2 million, and then got resold 2 years after that. Check this out for a second. For $1.9 million. This is insane, ladies and gentlemen. That's a $700,000 gain within not even 2 full calendar years. So in my previous videos, I have mentioned in the past we have experienced different recessions, different dips, and different real estate situations and economical situations in Canada. However, this time around, the pressure has been built like Mount Everest. So the higher you go this way, the more pressure, the bigger the release, right? So when things start to release, we have no idea how deep this hole might be. Like, it's almost impossible to predict this situation and where these prices might end up. All right. So in 2026, February 11th, this property sold for 1.15. So basically, we're back to 2020 pricing easily. I think there's still room to, I'm not going to say grow, but there's still room in the whole, because at this point is like, is this even worth it? I mean, it's a stunning home, 3,000 square feet, over 1,000 square feet in the basement, all of that stuff looks stunning, brick, double car garage and all of that stuff. But is it really worth even this kind of money in this situation? Because I don't believe that we kind of settled into the whole economy, right? It's still unpredictable on so many levels. So GTA average home price dips under $1 million for first time in 5 years. So the average selling in GTA in January 2026 went below $1 million. So last month, home sales dropped sharply in the region, especially when compared to the same month of 2025, with just 3,082 sales reported. So as we can see here, every time you have supply kind of jump and the inventory grows, the uncertainty grows, the buyers have more time to negotiate, they have more room to breathe, there's no pressure whatsoever. So that FOMO is out of the question, and people are making decisions completely, I would say, in a different style, right? So when we analyze what is happening and what might happen, I think this whole real estate, especially springtime of 2026, will push the market on hold for many, many months ahead, which will create less interest on the market, and it will create more drama to current homeowners and sellers and agents and everyone else. So I hope you get some value out of this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.